what it's really like. So, hi guys!
We were like, we're live! Hello Morgan, how are you?
Good, thank you, my love. I'm very jealous of the sun outside, considering that we're not really allowed outside. So I'll take my one walk and make the most of it, I think.
One a day, soak it all up.
Yeah.
I get sunburned very easily, so it's probably a blessing in disguise.
Matt needs back to 50 even inside.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I can't relate, but I do sympathise. So just to reiterate, I'm Morgan, I'm Women's Health's digital fitness writer, and I'm here chatting with Chessie King and Matt Carter, and we're going to talk all about how they're doing in self-isolation as a couple and how they make it work. So straight off the bat, we've all been in self-isolation, obviously. We'll be for a little bit longer. How are you guys finding it?
We were talking about this earlier. I think the first week, it's very surreal. The first week, you weren't quite sure how long it was going to last. So I think now that we've got ourselves into a bit of a routine, and it's very much like that wartime spirit, like, do you know what, we're going to stay and we're going to do our bit. But it's important, I think, that we find some sort of routine to get ourselves through it.
Yeah, I've actually tried to just see the good of it and just be like, right, I've always wished, I think we're all so busy in life, I've always wished for a week of just like doing what I want and choosing what I want to do. And yeah, I think we're very different in the ways that we've dealt with it. I've been like painting, doing things that I would never normally do. I've read like 2 books. And also we've had some really nice downtime. But yeah, and then we're just appreciating like every little thing when we go outside. Like we're noticing houses or like trees that we've never noticed before because you've only got that one shot to go out, and yeah, it's.
Well, I think relationships as well, and the way that you engage with people outside. I mean, there's a chap who's come in at Tesco, and I've been going to that Tesco around the corner since we've been here.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until a couple of days ago that I actually had a conversation with him. He was like, "How are you doing?" I was like, "Actually, it's really nice to be able to do that. Something that we take for granted because all of our lifestyles in this digital world are always so hectic." It does really make you appreciate the little things. You know, at the same time, you know, it's frustrating that we can't get on with our old way of life, but you take the little things for granted, I think.
We're making friends all over the place.
Making friends all over the place, yeah. I'm going to invite you to the wedding.
Have you really felt that in your daily life? Like, how has your daily routine changed as we are a little bit more confined to home now?
We're getting up really early, and I've seen loads of people saying that their brains are just so. Even though it's quiet, it's a quieter way of life because we're not like in the office, we're not commuting on the tube, that everyone's like finding sleep a little bit tough. Like we get to sleep fine, but we're waking up quite early. We either take the dog for a walk. Luckily, he's fast asleep. He's not a dog, he's definitely a puppy for now, yeah. We're having like half an hour, so we'll wake up at like 6:37 and we'll have like half an hour of just reading, coffee in bed, and it's so nice. Quiet time. It's so calming. Like we forget like what's going on in the world just for a split second, which is really nice, instead of just going straight to our phones or straight to the news and watching telly, because that really affects.
Well, the news, I mean, it can be a little bit overwhelming, and something that we've both spoken about is how, you know, we're easily so connected with the media, but when it's kind of this perpetual cycle of news bombardment and we're constantly refreshing our feeds looking for the latest update, you know, I don't think it does us any favours. So a bit of a routine that we do in the morning now. I mean, it's something we've never really done as a couple, but we do read for the first 20 to 30 minutes, which is quite nice.
I end up reading bits of my book to Matt because I'm like, do you want to hear this bit? And he's like, not really, but go on. And I was reading a naughty book before. He's reading about like the brain and neuroscience, and I'm like, oh God, she started doing what?
I'm reading about psychoanalysis, and Chess is reading. Well, I can't even repeat what Chess is reading. So,
Very good book.
Wait on the live stream as well. Maybe we'll just leave that for off air.
But apart from that, I think like even in the days, like in the weekdays, we are quite like independent. Still have our separate days. Matt's studying in what he's made a study, and I'm normally upstairs in the kitchen working. making a stand-up desk, and everyone was like, you just need an ironing board. I was like, we don't do iron.
Yeah.
But
You don't.
No, you're very good.
Thank
we have
you.
a steamer. That's all
Yeah.
We just hang everything up and then it looks a bit creased and then I just don't really wear things that need ironing. And then maybe that's what I should learn, how to iron.
I mean, you have the time, Chess.
I do.
You have the time to learn how to iron right now.
But the way some of my shirts come out, I might just give it here.
Yeah, and I think like we enjoy I'm really enjoying just being in the house a bit more. Like we've created, we are only renting, but we've created this space to feel like home. It's such a happy space. We've got literally prints everywhere, which Matt had no choice.
We have no space left on our walls. It's either prints or plants.
But it just makes it feel so much homier and so much nicer.
It does, but Matt's like, we live in a jungle, Jess. Like,
I need to stop my way through to get a coffee in the morning.
Tarzan, and I just come on the swing. It's just creating like a warm, calm, zen space, because we're spending so much time there. And I say that about our brains. Like Matt's studying neuroscience and mental health, so he knows the science bit. But from a practical point of view and personal point of view, like your brain and your body are your home. Like you're spending so much time indoors and you're also spending so much time up here in your brain, and you can get so consumed by these negative, overwhelming thoughts. And I just try and clear that space by doing yoga. Like my mum's a yoga teacher and she's been doing all her classes on Zoom, which is just so lovely. Matt joins in for a bit and then
there's lots of grunting as I'm like, oh, Julie, I can't hold that.
Sometimes we have our mics on and she's like, Chessie, Matt, your mics are still on, because like the whole class can hear us. But it's just adapting, isn't it? And how have you found it, Morgan?
I'm honestly, it's okay. It's just getting your mind around it, and then also I think there's a certain element of just leaning into it. And wondering, and we are at home, and what does this time mean? Because we're not stuck, we're safe. Like that is really the mental shift you have to make. But I think, there's really big things to overcome. Like I know you guys were planning on getting married this summer. So, and actually we've just had Megan ask, how has coronavirus affected the whole process? What are your
well, I think ours is in July. And at the moment, it's kind of just in that period. I think that's a little bit tricky. I think everybody's safety firstly is the most important thing. So if it's something that we've got to change near the time, then so be it. But I don't think we're getting ourselves stressed out about it. There's so many bigger things going on out there.
One of our closest friends, Hazel, is a doctor and she's working on the COVID-19 ward at the moment. And honestly, the last thing that we're thinking about when she's going out to battle, to fight every day, is us having it's a privilege to get married. It's such a lovely thing, but we're actually just hoping that we can bring a party to everyone's life at the end of this.
Yeah, I think it's long overdue, just everybody to have a party. I think we just miss just hugging people and just being able to give somebody a handshake.
Matt misses other humans.
I miss other humans, yeah.
He's get me out of
No. But we are quite, because I'm very, I love being outdoors. I mean, Richmond Park is my
dream,
my kind of safe haven, really. And I cycled there the other week and I got there and the gates were closed. And I was like, oh wow, this is going to change a few things. But it's finding our own ways to deal with it, really. And I think, one thing that we do see on social media a lot is that perhaps we'll see a lot of people dealing in it in a certain way, but equally, perhaps in a positive light, but equally it's okay that some days, that you can wake up and just feel a little bit kind of lost in your own thoughts and slightly anxious, and just perhaps you don't have the energy to go about your day as you normally would, because it's a global pandemic and it's okay to have feelings of anxiety. It's just your body giving you these signals, but it's how you go about kind of squashing those feelings and those thoughts so that they don't become kind of an infestation in your mind. And a technique that we both kind of like journaling and things anyway, but I feel so much better in my days when I start it off. And one thing I've tried to do is have a bit of a brain dump in the morning. Brain dump, should I talk about that? Not something else. But yeah, brain dump in the morning. But you try and just write down any thoughts or feelings that you have. And first of all, it's quite hard. You might have a couple of words, but then those words will slowly become sentences, and then, you know, maybe even paragraphs, and you don't know what you might quite kind of get out of them. And then it's when you give yourself a bit of a list and things to do, there's something very satisfying about ticking it off as you go on throughout the day. But there are.
Is that how you're staying in equilibrium? Is that one of the ways, you know, journaling, brain dumping, going for a bike ride? Are these all sort of tools you have?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the body's constantly trying to find the state of homeostasis, and at the moment, a lot of people, that balance is completely out of sync because certain aspects of their life they just no longer have control about. But I think getting up, and the days I notice it, perhaps, you know, if I'm a bit off, is perhaps if I haven't wrote something down in the morning, and it's easy to affect your mindset like that. But I find that's something that really helps me, and it's something that I've spoken to with clients when I use the PT, or people if I talk about mental health online, and everybody can resonate with that. People are just a little bit, I'm not quite sure what that's going to bring me, but when you start doing it and you start writing, you know, you love writing, and you kind of get to a point where, oh, actually, that's kind of how I'm feeling, and then you can take a step back, assess how you're feeling, and go, actually, perhaps those feelings aren't quite true. And, you know, it's something that you can do just with that positive mental health shift, I think.
And also gives you a bit of perspective, I think, because sometimes we're just so in our emotions and it's so turbulent and everything, we don't have control over a lot of things. Mm-hmm. And then when you do just put everything down on paper, you can see it as a macro view and actually pinpoint, maybe I need to start going to sleep a bit earlier. Maybe I need to stop having a glass of wine 3 times a night, every night. Maybe things that make you feel a little bit more, like you say, in balance and just sort of your best self. Where we can't.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're always very good. I mean, I think humans, we don't really like taking compliments. And if you were to write down a list now, perhaps of things that you've achieved, if there's one thing on that list, you take the negative and you'd only look at the negative. But it's actually looking at the list of things that you've done. You know, I'm safe, I've got my health, I went for my first run today. You know, your sister's doing the couch to 5K, which I never knew Bronx would have done before. Like, I'd pay to see Bronte running now. But it's amazing, like, so many people are using these as opportunities to try new things. But at the same time, you know, it's if you don't want to try these things, and there are days when you don't feel so great about doing something.
Just watch the whole of Tiger King.
Yeah.
And see Carol Baskin get eaten by a tiger. Honestly, we have indulged our evenings are just so juicy at the moment. Like juicy in the simplest sense of just sitting down and just watching everything on Netflix. It's great. I mean, I think we've run out of things, but there will be more. There will be more.
Escapism is important. There will be more. Yeah. But escapism is important at these times, and if you can do that in a book or a walk with a podcast, there's lots of ways going about it. But I think it's being aware of perhaps when these negative thoughts or feelings of anxiety, when they do start to crop up, perhaps you can then start to use these coping mechanisms and be aware of them and put them into action straight away.
Yeah.
Because otherwise these thoughts are just going to manifest, and then it can be a bit of a slippery slope from there. But we're all, and that's the beauty of it, although it's a really tough situation at the moment, we are all very much in the same boat, and it's kind of using this period to come together, and if there's coping mechanisms that you've got, and just share them. We've got these media platforms to be able to do it. So
yeah. And how have you found being on social media in this time? Is it something that's helped you stay connected to people? Do you feel like it's something that you have to be quite cautious about, and maybe there's hours where you're not on social media so much?
I've really found it a nice way of just staying connected, but also like at the beginning I felt really insensitive about posting any content that wasn't corona related. I found a real overwhelming. I never feel pressure with social media because I've kind of adapted my voice to I never feel like, oh, I have to post, I have to do this, but I don't anymore. But then I did, and I was like, oh my God, I feel like I have a huge responsibility to use my platform to spread news and all of this. But then I was like, that's not my job. My job is to, I see my job on social media is just to help as many people as possible, and just try and add a bit of light and sunshine into their lives. So yeah, I think it was just like, I feel best when I'm helping others. So yeah, I just kind of surrendered to the fact that people still need body confidence. People still need a bit of a lot of happiness, even more so in this situation. And body image problems are still relevant in a global pandemic because, they're probably exacerbated in that sense. And like we said, just spending so much time with our thoughts and mirror checking I said to Matt, I was like the other day, do a top 3. Is that our thing going off? Is that our?
I think it's mine, but I can't.
Oh, sorry, don't worry. Every night we get into bed and we're like, what was your favourite 3 parts of the day? Because my dad, when we were younger, and when he picked us up from school or something, he would never say, how was your day? Because I'd be like, yeah, fine. And so he was like, what were your favourite 3 parts of the day? And then it would get my brain thinking, and then I wouldn't be able to just answer with one word. We always do that. We're like, right, what was your favourite 3 parts of the day? And the other day, I was
leaving the house.
Getting away from you, Jess. And the other day I just said, like, the realisation that I can still I can still post content that I know will help people, and it's not insensitive, and it I'm just so careful with what I say. But I think I was like, I'm not going on TikTok. No, I'm sorry, Instagram is enough for me. And then here I am just scrolling through in hysterics.
Like, what is so funny?
And then I showed him
I feel I'm too old to go. I'm 31, so I don't.
No way.
No way.
No way. You've still got many, many TikTok years in you.
Oh, don't say that. That's dangerous.
But no, it's a great, like, people are sharing such fantastic news, and it's
there's
phenomenal.
There is, if you follow the right accounts, like there are some accounts, like the memes and things at the moment, they're hilarious.
They are hilarious. We just need laughter. Anything that brings us laughter and dopamine and all of that.
That's it. I think, it's the dose that makes the poison of anything, and too much time on it can get a little bit overwhelming and I find it, I get quite consumed by it.
Even before Corona,
spend too much time on it. But, as you mentioned, everybody, any problems that perhaps that you had or anything like that, in a time like this, it can feel sometimes slightly exacerbated, because we used to train religiously and following diets and things like that was a big part of my life and your life in our early 20s. And I thought, if I was 24 and this was happening now, I'd be in a panic, because I wouldn't be able to get to the gym twice a day. I wouldn't be able to go out and get certain foods that I used to do. And I think that would it would put a weight on my mental health. But, luckily that's something that I've kind of fought through in that period. But at the same time, there'll be lots of people currently going through this.
And we appreciate how difficult that is. I think from people that have been through it, and we did like a bikini competition. Well, Matt didn't. I did a bikini competition.
I did it in a bikini. That's why I placed last. It's very strange.
Matt also did a fitness competition without a bikini. He just went on naked.
I just wanted to get a tan.
I think from both of us, like, we appreciate and respect how difficult that is if you're still in that mindset. And I think just trying to filter through those thoughts and just, I love the phrase Alice uses it a lot, Alice Living, saying, control what you can control, but let go of what you can't, and control the controllables. Is that right? Yeah. Hopefully. Just made it up. And you can control your one walk of the day. You can control how that makes you feel. You can look up. You can, instead of thinking, how many steps am I doing? I've got to reach that 10,000. Looking at your Fitbit. Just enjoy every sense, like every smell, every sight, like every sound. And instead of thinking about the fitness element of the walk, do it for your brain. Like, just really just enjoy and just savor every moment of that. And when you're in the house and you're filling your cupboards with all these foods, and all I used to think about was food, and I was like, why is no one else thinking of food as much as I am? And it is really difficult, but you've just got to think, right, what can I control? I can control what foods I buy. So if you have stuff in the thing in your cupboards or your fridge that make you feel amazing, that give you that energy for your walk, or that energy for the rest of your day, it's just really yeah, I mean, obviously we can't sum it up in just a 25-minute conversation because it's a huge topic, but you are not alone, and it's okay to feel out of control, but just come back to...
I mean, sometimes even as like a guy, I used to think, God, is this these like body confidence issues, is this something that all guys experience? You know, because naturally we emote far less naturally. But it's when you're aware of those thoughts and you hear people sharing those stories, but you know, during a time like this, it can kind of feel like the problem is kind of exacerbated a little bit. But again, it's going back to that notion that this is something that we're all currently experiencing.
Yeah, totally. And it's definitely a collective sensation, I think, of not being in control of our lives that can feel unsettling, which again comes back to the surrendering into it and accepting it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I really want to talk about, Matt, especially, was the fact that you are type 1 diabetic, which does put you in a higher risk category if you were to contract coronavirus.
Yeah.
Hart, who actually happens to be my younger brother, who also has type 1 diabetes, has a question and just wants to know how you're dealing with your blood sugar and any hypos or anything like that in quarantine.
Yeah, do you know what? I put a post up on my stories the other day because I've had a lot of type 1 diabetics that I speak to on social media all the time, and I've actually found it's a period. The first week there's a little bit of anxiety. A lot of people saying, you know, make sure that you've got 8 to 12 weeks of supplies and things like that. But I've actually found the past week my control has been it's been pretty solid. I miss going out and exercising as much as I previously was, but at the same time, exercise has different effects on your blood glucose levels. Yeah. So perhaps I'm not exercising in the way that I used to be. So at times my control has probably been better during this period. But I did a chat a couple of years ago with an amazing lady called Anita Beckwith, who's the lead dietitian for diabetes at King's College. And there's a huge room of other type 1 diabetics. There was about 70 of us in there. And she said something that, you know, you just need to get it right 80% of the time. And the 80-20 rule is something that we hear in all aspects of our life, you know, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to training. And I think with how you control any condition, type 1 diabetes especially, it's important to take that away, and there's just this sense of relief in the room, and parents especially kind of saying, oh, thank God, because you know, with diabetes especially, you can get built up on the numbers all the time, and it can really affect your mood. Like this day, sometimes if I wake up and I'm a little bit low or a little bit high, Chess just knows now. She'll either know to speak to me or just to give me like a few minutes just to back out a bit. Yeah. But make sure you're talking about it. Because there's a lot of people who don't understand the condition. So talk about it. It's okay if the numbers are going to be off for a little bit, but there's plenty of support out there. I know JDRF and Diabetes UK do amazing support. But it's important to still be aware, like people will still be being diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and everything that was happening previously in life, it's still going on. And we forget, there'll be people out there now, the 4 T's of understanding symptoms of diabetes is really important as well, because there will still be people out there coming in with the condition. But kind of say you control the condition, it doesn't control you. And if you can use that mindset, it makes it's something that's always given me that extra little bit of push, I think.
Yeah, and are you guys having to be any more careful as a couple who are high risk? Are you having to take any greater precautions? Anything that's on your mind when you're out and about?
We are just very careful, not like over, like it's funny walking down the street and people, we just naturally now will walk like, because no cars are on the road.
People used to do that to us before anyway.
Avoid us at all costs. And so we, like, obviously there are no cars on the road, so we'll just walk like that if someone's on the pavement, and we'll just respect that is, yeah. But I think we're just, like we were saying, we don't really, like I used to touch my face. We both have struggled with skin, like acne before, and we were always told, like, don't touch your face. So I think we just don't do that naturally, because we know that there's dirt on our hands and all of that. And I just think we've been self-isolating and quarantining for actually longer than we were told, longer before we were told to officially lock down, just because obviously Matt is high risk. I was meant to have an operation 2 days ago for my heart, and that's obviously been pushed back. So we're both just cautious, but there's nothing like, apart from the government guidelines, there's nothing that we've done more so. It's just we've spent a lot more time indoors than someone that is like, oh, I won't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had that mindset that, of course, but we were saying this morning, we were like, we are so much more aware. Like, boys washing their hands. Matt used to do this with water. And then just dry his hands like that. So now,
my hands smell great. I mean, they're always cracked now, but not great. No, we're very much aware now, and I think awareness is a huge part to staying on top of this. But yeah, I'm definitely washing my hands a lot more.
So you've been in quarantine a little bit longer, perhaps, than other people, and Lauren has actually asked how you guys deal when you're getting on each other's nerves in the flat. So if you've been in this situation a bit longer, has it come up, and are there anything that you have sort of like you'll go to separate ends of the living room or anything like that?
I have transformed one of the bedrooms, the spare bedroom, into an office, and we've said this from the start, you know, if one of us just needs to go for a walk or to listen to a podcast somewhere, we'll separate ourselves in the house.
It's just like, honestly, for us, there's no judgment or no like barriers, as in like, if someone wants to go for a run or a walk, the other partner should just be like, encourage them to do that because they need it. Whereas in some relationships, it's like, why are you going for a walk? Well, I'll come for a run with you. And I just know, not obviously I can't run like Matt can, but I just know that is Matt's time. And if I like, even just separate things, like if you don't want to watch something together because you both haven't agreed on watching Tiger King, one of you does want to watch it and the other doesn't. But like Matt was watching a golf documentary yesterday, and I was just watching stuff on YouTube. And
wait, you weren't watching the golf documentary?
Well, I'd already watched it. And I think it's just that like communication, and it's that respect for each other's spaces. And we've always like, we're freelance anyway, so we're always in and out of the house, like, and we just share responsibility. Like Matt will never just like assume that I'm cooking for like dinner. We'll share things, and like I always I have been brought up just to say thank you for everything, like little things, but I'll always thank Matt even for unpacking the dishwasher, just little things. Like, don't just take things for granted. Like, we've been together for 3 years, and like Matt still thanks me for like hanging up his washing. It's just, I know that it sounds so petty, but just appreciate those little actions. Otherwise it can build up, and you've got to respect that. We've got different languages of love. Like, I love touching, and I literally am such a touchy person, like to all of my friends, to all of my family. Like, I literally just love hugging and touching, whereas Matt's a bit like,
I'm very much like, is it Ross and Friends, like the hug and roll? Was that Ross?
I don't watch
in bed and like,
The season roll.
yeah, there we go.
I don't watch Friends. Unpopular opinion, I've never watched Friends and enjoyed it.
Okay, definitely shocking. You have time now.
No, I'm sorry. Quarantine is not going to change me.
She was like, I might start Game of Thrones. I was like, I don't even know if you have enough time to get through Game of Thrones.
No, I'm not. I just don't like the canned laughter.
The candle.
Yeah, you get. I will agree with you, but you get used to it quite quickly.
Do you? No, I prefer like a natural laughter, like. Yeah.
Well, you can always just laugh over the canned laughter.
Yeah, but what happens if I don't find it funny?
Oh God.
Try.
Well, yeah, that's going to be my Sunday today. Yeah.
So a couple of quick fire questions just to round it off. We've had, what are your favourite workout tunes, and also book recommendations. So favourite workout tune and favourite book recommendation each.
Ooh, what's the song that we've had on at the moment?
God, it's meant to be quickfire.
Quickfire.
I love like, we love disco, like anything groovy. I have a song, I have a playlist on Spotify called Social Disc Dancing, and it's basically just
that's
like.
Very good. Yeah. I'm actually, as far as running to classical music, I've started doing.
Really?
Ludovico Einaudi. If you listen to him when you're running,
amazing.
It will feel like I'm Kipchoge breaking the 2-hour marathon. It's bizarre. I always used to run listening to like dance music or something. But yeah, like that.
Book recommendations: In at the Deep End and Silent Patient. I'm watching and reading Silent Patient at the moment. It's very good, but also like very wordy.
I just finished reading, if you're interested in anything to do with mental health, a book called Cracked, on how psychiatry is doing more harm than good, but it's very easily put, and it's easy to follow. Ish.
Ish, yeah.
Oh my gosh, well thank you so
much.
Morgan, thank you.
It's amazing, and honestly, like, you guys seem to be smashing self-isolation, so I'm sure it will continue.
Not smashing, just doing our own way.
Doing our bit. Somebody's put Ludovico. There we go. Honestly, run listening to Ludovico and Audi.
Try it.
That's your
running.
It's run to classical music and respect each other and say thank you.
Yeah. Say thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Morgan. Have an amazing day.
Cheers. Thank you.
Bye.